Thanks. Thank you. Oh, this is the one. You're off. No, I did.
Yes.
So, yeah, we have singing stuff. And now, yeah.
All right, I got 11:04, we got a quorum, so let's get going. Meeting order, start with introductions. Drew Christian with SEMPO Regional Planning. I'm the vice chair filling in for Kelly, who is online.
Mark Phillips, State Special Road District.
Tom Colwell, IDOT.
Mark Shelton, Missouri, Kansas chapter, American Concrete Paving Association.
Chris Crocker, MoDOT.
Marla Mills, KLG Engineering, SEMPO staff.
Jeff Long, business editor, Southeast Missouri. Rodney Bullinger, city of Jackson.
Alex McElroy, SEMPO staff, and online we have Scott Perry, Andrew Meyer, Kelly Watson, Ryan Shrimplin, Michael Brandon, Joe Killian, and Mike Henderson.
All right. Move on to adoption of the agenda. Do you have any visions that are needed? No, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. So moved. Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the December 7th minutes. They were included in the packet. Do I have any revisions for those? If not, I take a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Hold my comments for member reports. Have any public? All right, we've got the new and unfinished business. But first, FY 24 Unit 5 planning book program.
Okay, so hopefully folks online are able to pull up one of the handouts that I had included in the packet. It's this one where it's numbered 1 through 9, front and back, and we'll get to that list in a second. In our fiscal year 2022, the amount of planning funds that we received annually increased due to the 2020 census and the bipartisan infrastructure law. So historically, we had received around 150,000. Now that number is closer to 177,000. And with about our 20% local matches around 35 to 40,000 annually. So we typically have between $210,000 to $230,000 budget each year. This year, MoDOT is changing their carryover policy. They have a 5-year carryover policy where historically, since our conception, we had accumulated a carryover balance, and they only allow a total of 5 years of total funding to be carried over. Recently, we've been using and spending all of the planning funds that we've received. So we haven't really been building on that carryover allotment very much over the past several years. But with MoDOT change from 5-year carryover to 4-year carryover, if we spend all of the allotted planning funds for FY24, we will be between $50,000 and $85,000 cushion before we would get close to that carryover allotment. So I say all that just to say this wouldn't be a bad fiscal year to plan a little bit more than we historically do in a planning year. So that's why I've created quite a number of just idea projects that I wanted just to kick around this group and then share with the board as well. But I wanted this group's take on which ones you think should rise to a priority for fiscal year 24. There's no questions on that. I'll get started on our draft list and talk just a little bit about each project that I enumerated here. The first project is our comprehensive safety action plan. We had submitted for grants through the U.S. Department of Transportation for that Safe Streets and Roads for All program. Yesterday, we were notified that we were successful and we will receive $160,000 for that project. So that one will go into FY24. Depending on the timing, we may need to amend FY23, but I'm thinking it'll take a while to get the grant agreement in place and then have the funds authorized. So I think it'll start to abut to fiscal year 24 anyway. So that was an easy one. Wanted to start with an easy one. The next are just ideas that we've either said in the past or have come up recently. So project 2, a multimodal freight plan, is something that this group has kicked around in the past. 2 years ago, we had EV readiness plan and this freight plan as the options that we wanted to choose from. Ultimately, the group and the board decided to go with the EV plan based on the bipartisan infrastructure law funding that would be available. And also, MoDOT was in the process of developing their multimodal freight and rail plan. So we thought if we delayed that for a little bit, we would have the benefit of resource of MoDOT's plan as well and be able to build off that. So this wouldn't be a bad year to again prioritize this and schedule this for FY24 if the group still thinks that is a worthy project. The next one I have is regional bike ped plan. I thought we could go through, identify projects that we could advance a little bit through additional planning resources and invest some of our planning funds that way. An example from the document could be our Jackson Cape Trail we identified. Let me see if I can share my screen here.
I have a question. This is Ryan.
Yeah.
I know the first step would be like an alignment study, but does our funding allow us to actually do design?
Plan. I'd have to see the exact thresholds of what planning funds would allow, but certainly
I know we can't do construction, but I didn't know if we'd be allowed to put money toward actual, engineering design.
Engineering, and Betsy's not online. So Betsy, you online? Okay, no. Betsy's big taboo is engineering, anything close to engineering. There's some people that have gotten creative in planning, engineering, but just short of plans. But typically, engineering is not commensurate with deals on federal deals.
Thank you.
Be well within the realm of planning.
Yeah, and I argue it because it's extremely ambiguous, planning engineering.
So we might have to be very cautious with what projects we select and what the scope of work would be. But we do have this overarching bike ped plan, and certainly more planning could be done on very specific projects as opposed to this much broader planning document. So as
Typically, the broader, the better. When it gets project specific, that's where often FHWA has, at least on my divisions, got easy.
would it benefit a project specific if it encompassed 2 municipalities?
Well, when I say specific geographically, that's where it you say an intersection versus regional, the regional mode is always, mood is seems better than it's for the.
Gotcha. Well, that might get rid of another one we had, which was intersection studies. That would probably be out of the question.
Well, again, folks have, over at Marion Carbondale, they've done, but they expanded it beyond one intersection, one problem intersection. Again, it's, and I've had folks that have moved it through just short of phase 1 engineering.
Mhm. So something to continue to think about. And if we wanted to go that route, we'd have to be pretty clear and get final guidance on what qualify for the planning funds.
Certainly, it is favorites.
Another is asset management plan. This would be to develop a system for evaluating road conditions. Would that go under engineering? Do you think, Tom?
No, and inspection, as far as scoping, had many of the MPOs.
I see the work being somewhat similar to our ADA condition assessment plan, but it does touch ADA law, so it being a requirement, I don't know if they gave us more flexibility to do that.
And something I'll if you've heard of before, which kind of goes along with it, it's DSATs, DSATS, capital letters, that's the DeKalb Sycamore NPO 360. They've developed a program that's going just holistic nationwide using Google Maps that they which is enabling folks to do just down to the map inspection, ADA, road condition,
What's the acronym again?
DSATs, DSATS. That's the DeKalb Sycamore Area Transportation Study. DSATs 360, DeKalb County. They're putting it into play over at SEMPO, just next to it.
SEMPO, right?
Not SEMPO, SEMPO. You gotta know the difference.
Yeah. But I saw that as a benefit to the MPO, because I know that Cape Girardeau has their system evaluating through the pavement condition index. I assume Jackson is pretty similar. But this was just investing resources into furthering how we assess the roads. Intersection studies, this will parlay into a request we've gotten that is on the agenda. But the idea would be for the MPO to collectively decide on intersections they wanted to evaluate further. Examples are like Jackson's Deerwood and 61, they had a intersection study there where they had recommendations for improvements. What's on the agenda was a request that we had received for analysis of 61 and Perryville Road intersection study. Pull that up. It's right here. Yes, County Road 6. Yeah. It's in our planning area. This Commissioner Herbst had called in and inquired about it. Wondered if that was something within the purview of SEMPO to be able to analyze. You can see it kind of has a weird alignment. The island in the middle.
Oh, this is out by the golf course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Pilot house.
And part of the problem Charlie had conveyed is if they want to do something here. And they know they'll need an easement from the golf course, but they have no idea what that easement boundary would look like.
That's actually our road, Alex. But it ties in, of course, that's the city golf course right there.
Mhm.
And so just going down towards the bottom of the page, then just your city limits are right there at Hanover Lutheran Church. So it ties in right there. Yeah, right in there, about where you're at, somewhere, some city limits. Church there, I think you went past it already. But anyway, that ties in with the city, and then if you go back to the intersection, just up the hill of the Pilot House is State Highway W, so we're kind of, all entities are pretty closely involved there. There's a lot of traffic in that area. I think for me, and it's gonna encompass a pretty sophisticated design. I think our biggest problem is right away. I mean, there's a house on one side of the bridge there. The bridge, I think, is 24 feet wide. But, depending on what you do to handle the traffic in all directions there, you might have, you're gonna have a bridge too. And then, whether it be try to go around or
Do we have any
something.
traffic counts in that area? What's the level of volume?
Well, I think that's what I was talking about with Charlie, Ryan. I think that'd be our first step, actually, to do some traffic studies, and get some of those volumes to be able to, approach it from a design standpoint to really know what we're dealing with. But there's a lot of traffic, especially coming off of W, and then of course Perryville Road at your peak times, you get a lot of traffic through there. Not to mention there's more subdivisions and housing being built to the north there along 621. From there, so that traffic's not light either coming from the north. So the volumes are significant, at least for our roads, and like I said, you're getting a significant amount from the city too, from Perryville, and then obviously around W2. It's a pretty busy intersection. But I think you're right, Ryan. I think that probably would be first step, is try to obtain some traffic volumes, just to kind of get a handle of that before we go much further. And then we'll probably the city. I had talked with Scott Meyer about it a few years ago, about, we're probably going to need right away there from the golf course. I don't know what kind of impact that has on them, but I'm sure it requires some redesign of the course there to some degree. I don't know how much.
That's all.
I know the hole kind of goes back to the southeast there. But
I mean, I've been over there, but not.
you shouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
I hear you.
Hey, this is Kelly. I live in that area, and I can tell you, since the construction of Center Junction, whenever all the traffic was being diverted, the volume of traffic there is, like they were saying, during peak times, it's pretty significant. Sometimes, I just live right up the hill from the Pilot House, and sometimes in the mornings, I sit in my driveway for 5 minutes or more waiting for a chance to pull out onto W.
Sounds like that would be worthwhile then.
Anderson, you know who we would reach out to see if that would fall under the allowed uses of planning funds?
Betsy.
Betsy?
Well,
Hey, Alex.
talk real quick.
Hey, Alex.
Yeah, Mike.
This is Mike Henderson. I didn't
Yes, sir.
know. I'm having a hard time hearing, but it sounded like you may have said my name.
Yeah, we were discussing intersection studies, and
Right.
I checked to see who I would get clarification from if that was an appropriate use of planning funds.
Well, you could certainly run it through me, and I could. If I can't answer the question, I could run it through somebody else here in our office that might be able to do that. And I'm just sitting here listening. Like I said, I'm having a hard time hearing, but the one thing you want to keep in mind is these suggestions are for your planning work program. So it's going to be imperative that you separate out the planning work from the design of an actual project from the construction work. Keep this to what the fix is for these areas and not laying out a project. But, certainly, once you get your UPWP put together, when we review it, that's one of the things we look for are these tasks that you have listed in the UPWP eligible for the planning funds.
I'd leave with Mike.
Right there. We can, if you guys want, the RPC, we can go out. We can set up traffic count, get your counts. Trying to think how many. Do you just want 3 or do you want to know like inside the triangle too? We've got 4 tubes and 2 radars. We can do with 6 counts.
People, like, there's not, let's say, those businesses as well, they probably would build, turn.
If you guys want, I don't know if that would be, if I can give with you or
That's fine, yeah, you could absolutely.
we can give with you and kind of see where you want to. Into amount next. I don't know if you. I mean, I'm sure the traffic changes. I guess we're kind of going to the third item, new unfinished business. We'll just skip down there. I would suspect that the traffic flow changes some as golf season picks up, or does it pretty steady really regardless?
I mean, it's steady, yeah, really, I mean, it's obviously part of it, but it's not really significant. Those people coming from town, they don't really hit the intercom. So not all of them, but a big portion of them, I think, are coming from in town, which is take Perryville Road, they're out of the intersection before they get there, I think predominantly. But I mean, I agree with what Kelly said. I mean, it most certainly got worse. We've got the bridge deck. The bridge is in good condition there. The bridge deck itself, we've got some deterioration going on. We've been keeping it patched up, and it's fine as far as the bridge. But it was built, I think, in 53. So it's getting towards the end of its life as well. And again, it's not critical, but I just feel like, these next few years, we probably ought to just start to look at it, for total replacement. And if we're going to replace the bridge, we need to be looking at the intersection.
So number 5 would be similar requests and just examining MPO planning area and seeing if there are other intersections we want to be able to invest planning funds into study. Number 6, an origin and destination study. I don't know a whole lot about these type of studies. I had seen that the Joplin area MPO, JATSO, had it in their current fiscal year to conduct a study, and they had done one in 2012 as well. So they're updating and building on previous planning document that they created. But essentially, I provided a brief general description in your handout. But it's analyzing what traffic is headed where, what mode of travel it is. That way you can plan out further for whether roads need widened or additional traffic lights. And I know recently there's been a lot of different technologies that have been employed to do these type of studies. I have a very brief video that kind of shows you at the granular level what all they're able to do with some of these softwares. And this wouldn't be for us to go out and procure the software. It might be us to partner with a firm that that's just one example of, there's a bunch of different companies now that do this. I had actually had a demo about a year ago with these folks. And they were able to pull up Broadway and show me traffic patterns at different times of the day and what mode of travel, and they could distinguish between somebody in a car or somebody on a bike or somebody that was walking. And they were able to do that just by the speed of it and the distance traveled. So kind of big brother stuff, but it's good information to have if you can afford it or commission a study to take a look at it. But again, if you guys were interested in that, I'd have to do more research into it. I could speak with the Joplin folks a little more. They had provided me a copy of their 2012 plan, but it was very specific to the particular traffic at the time. And that I haven't been able to follow up with them yet, but I'm assuming that's probably because they didn't have access to these other modes of collecting that info. Number 7 is, as an organization, I know that I'm sure there are more and better things we could be doing with mapping and our GIS information. So that would be, if we wanted to do that, a specific focus on expanding what we're able to offer in terms of public facing maps and information used in our GIS. We contract with regional planning. So if we wanted to highlight this as a work product for fiscal year 24, we would just see if they have the capacity to have us make them a lot more busy with GIS stuff. But we also have the city of Cape has a GIS staff member, and depending on the scope and what we wanted to accomplish, we could even put out an RFP if the scope was too broad to try and burden our local organization for that. That number 8 is a complete streets plan. I know the city of Cape Girardeau has a complete streets policy, but this would be more of a broad plan for the SEMPO planning area. And then number 9, we're currently conducting our public transit human services transportation coordination plan with KLG Engineering. And there's likely to be some recommendations that might lend themselves to be eligible for planning funds to further. I don't know of anything specific yet. Most likely a good number of recommendations will be more capital oriented, but there may be recommendations in there that we could advance through planning funds too. That's what I came up with. That doesn't have to be the definitive list at all. I really compiled it just to get folks thinking. But I'll need some type of prioritization, at least by March. I'll need to know exactly which plans we want to schedule. That way I can get the drafts of our UPWP to MoDOT and have it adopted. At least my deadline is May. We tried adopting it in June one time and it just doesn't work out well with all the approvals that we need through MoDOT and whatnot. So if I could get it adopted in April, I'd love it, but I know that since we did meet in January and this is the first time you guys have been able to see this list, that we might have to kick it to March.
Well, I'll put my 2 cents in. I'm very interested in number 3, anything pertaining to the bike ped plan. We really haven't done much with it since we adopted the plan. So I know there's a lot of interest in moving some of those projects forward in any way we can. On the safety action plan, is there a match for that?
There is. It was 40,000 that's being divided amongst all the members.
Okay. Okay.
They do have a handout. I don't know that I included it in the electronic packet, but it was part of your handouts that shows the breakdown. It's the middle chart. And I had shared that prior to us submitting the grant as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that in the scenario I have in the handout, I show what we would do for fiscal year 2023 to amend membership dues and what that final number would be. That's what that bottom table is.
Okay.
Likely it'll just roll into fiscal year 24. And then depending on what the grant agreement looks like, the city would be the beneficiary of the funds, and then we would act as the host to collect membership dues for the percentage of each member.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think they're all very good ideas, good projects, but we probably need to get some answers on, you know, any of these that we really can't do under the funding, or at least get some clarification. So maybe we get that and then we come back and discuss it next month. Is that an option, Alex?
It would be if the group is in consensus that that would definitely be a project they'd want to schedule. By March, I'd like to have a recommendation to the board and then have the board decide to do the timing of the draft, any edits MoDOT or FHWA has. But it sounded like as long as we could put it in a planning bucket, we're not touching engineering, we have a shot at it.
Well, I'm flexible. Like I said, I think all these are good projects, but that's certainly one I'm interested in. You know, 6 and 7 sound good too. You know, just high tech, getting a lot of data. You know, we've got all sorts of uses for that, but I don't know, you know, how involved that's going to be.
I think 6 could be a pretty interesting study.
I'd imagine the RPC would be really interested in that data.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Alex, do you have a estimated cost for that one?
I don't.
Or for any of these, I guess, do we have any idea of? I mean, is that so big to where that would be our one big project, or do you think we'd maybe be able to take on another one or so?
I don't have numbers for them yet, only because I wanted to get a feel for what the group was most interested in. But as I had shared at the beginning, this fiscal year would not be a bad one to plan a little bit more than we normally do. Just because it'll keep us within the 4-year carryover threshold without having to worry each fiscal year about, whether we're gonna exceed that cap or not. We do like to retain some carryover balance because we're a smaller MPO and our planning fund allotment each fiscal year really doesn't rise to the level of being able to do a MTP without some reserves.
Well, what did the rest of you guys think? I mean, is that origin and destination study something we want to pursue right now? If we do that and the safety action plan?
I mean, I like the sound of the origin and destination study, but I also like the multimodal freight plan as well. I think 1, 2, 3. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 6. I don't know. I think they're all good projects. I don't know that I necessarily have a specific order.
I guess, if you look at it from just a timing standpoint, certainly intersection studies, we've got one example right now. That's something that really we would like to start looking at sooner rather than later. And then, like I said, on the bike ped plan, we haven't really moved anything forward with that. So I don't know, is the freight plan something we think is timely to do now, or is there an issue with doing that maybe next year or down the road?
Like I said, I think they're good projects. I don't necessarily. I don't know that I can put them in a specific order for you. I think the plan is important. I don't know that it has to be something that we're doing this year. And you're right. We've already got a bicycle pedestrian plan, so it makes sense to kind of leverage what we've already spent and move something forward there. And we know we've got intersections that stand to be looked at. So I don't know.
Try to get an idea of some cost on that before we make the decision on 3 or 4 of them or something.
I think if we could narrow it down to 3 or 4, and for the purposes of this, don't consider the comprehensive safety action plan as part of that. Because we've already have the separate bucket of federal funds to do that. So if you guys are in agreement that 3 being the bike plan, 6 origin. Was the other one freight?
5
Intersection studies.
I think maybe 3, 5, and 6 would probably be my preference if I had to pick a few. But again, it's just going to depend on the cost.
I know you said it's the email. We can give it to you. See. For number 7, maybe something that we can maybe start on. All in.
Right, just dedicate a little bit more funds than we had previously. Yeah, that could give us a head start if we do,
Yeah.
we do later on with the building.
Obviously on. Honest.
So 356, that what I'm hearing. What I'll do is I'll put costs to those estimates. I'll reach out to Jocelyn. Get an idea for how much their study costs and what the scope of it was.
Sounds good.
35. Okay,
That food interested. So it's great.
five
Number
is
5.
5 is
That is interesting.
and I'll get additional clarity on what our scope of intersection studies could be. Yep. As well as the bike ped scope.
I mean, I would think. Carrying a project, which is exceptionally area.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I don't know.
Sounds similar to like team where you put together like a comprehensive plan and then have some options.
And I had mentioned to Charlie as an option, but you know, the cycles and the amounts, I didn't know if that would be an option for him next time. He was interested in having this group weigh in. Well,
I can let them know the next round, if this doesn't get people to the next round. See if it be a good fit.
yeah, thank you. All right, well then I'll follow up with this group on 3, 5, and 6. With the understanding that I'll most likely increase the amount we dedicate toward GIS services a little bit in the budget. That way we can do I'll call it a preliminary audit of what we offer, and we can work just kind of as a work element amongst this group about what we would like to see it enhanced to. I needed that done, all right. Yes. All right. Thank you.
We move on to IDOT's unspent TL policy.
Okay. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
We have over, in Illinois at IDOT, what is it, a significant balance of planning funds that have gone unobligated, that have built up over the years, and what we're trying to do is to initiate some possible ideas on expending these balances. So what this has done for Cape Girardeau, and similar, we have a similar MPO up in Dubuque. We have an East Dubuque, which is kind of like East Cape. It's a little bit bigger, but anyway. So there's an MPO with just a small faction that had received minimal, but some funds through the years. What this is idea that it's been accepted by FHWA and is moving forward will present SEMPO with the option of receiving an additional, they have been receiving $2,500. And it's just an annual invoice that gets paid. What this would possibly allow is an expenditure of $65. So a base, which everybody's getting a base of $50,000, and then a little bit with their population. So there's a possibility that SEMPO would be receiving an additional $60,000. What it would receive that, you would then be needing to undergo our standard agreement procurement process, which is tedious. And we have a number of required documents that are needed to be developed and approved. And the idea, actually, our people came up with, you know, if they want, we can continue, we can expand what is just a direct payment up to $20,000 without an agreement. So folks have said, you know, I don't know if they want to just, you know, invoice us for $19,900 without an agreement, they can do that. But if they want the full, what would be $65,000, we need to get started on getting these agreements. Because it will, we have what's a budget template that all the MPOs have. It's due, it's our target. It isn't a drop dead deadline, but due February 15th. And that's with the goal of getting fully executed agreements June 30th. So it
Takes that long.
It takes that long. Unfortunately, we've done one thing, you know, Illinois, it's not streamlined, if you can imagine. So we finally got to where we don't have to have wet signatures on things. Before we were having to have physical wet signatures, actual physical signatures. It would take us in-house 6 weeks, because we had to have 5 people, 5 different folks sign them. Well, we've created electronic signature capabilities to where that can be done and speed things up. But still, it takes a long time. There's a list. There's 7 or 8 different risk assessments, questionnaires, things that would be required. So I was going to just go ahead and say, Alex, you know, we'll go with the $20,000 route. He said, well, I better take it out in front of people. So he was being honorable that if you wanted the full amount, we need to get going on it. So, and it is if you want the lesser amount, nothing need to be done. If you're bored, nobody has to do anything. If you want the full amount, it is something that board recognition and approval would be warranted.
And I had included in the packet and in your handouts some basic information on what that process looks like and the funds that SEMPO would be eligible for. So, yes, that one at the page 8, the one that's stapled, shows you the PL balance, and this was the latest updated from. It might not be. This one might be a little over. Yeah, a little over 50,000 for FY 24, 25, and 26.
Yeah, actually, it would be your because the match is being waived if you choose that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so it would be 65,000 and change would be what you would be receiving.
So the 20% match is matched by Illinois. So it'd be as Tom had said, like 65 or so.
And is the match waived with the 19?
Yes.
Well, I mean, Alex, that haven't worked yet, so.
And that's why I want to make sure that, you know, I brought it to folks.
Let me clarify for the minutes. We retract that statement.
I've already.
Was in the form of a motion, so
That's true, that's true.
you're the chairman. So
I mean, my thought would be, let's just do the 20,000.
And honestly, this process, which the acronym is GATA, but it's government accountability. We got in a squeeze a while back and they put some additional requirement for all state of Illinois contracts. But we have legislatively, transportation has been, and the locals primarily, it's been waived. So it's in the process of being eliminated, but we haven't got there yet. So there's a good chance that a lot of the pain in the neck stuff will be gone in 2 years, and then it'll just be much easier to possibly have the hold out.
So are we being asked to opt into this or?
Well, if I guess because of the additional amount that's being granted, offered to SEMPO, it puts you in a position requiring these procurement documents to be completed. And so if you so choose not to do that, no action, that's your choice. Alex was rightfully saying that folks ought to know that there is an opportunity for you to receive $65,000 or it's whatever you choose. I mean, the 20 you can still keep charging 2,500, and whatever it's up to is what that could be, whatever you would choose to do.
Would we still have time if the group wanted to go for the extra funds, be able to complete all of them?
Yeah, there is, you have to, what is register in what is our portal, which is it's a platform that orchestrates any and all grantees with the state of Illinois. It takes some work, and it's just, some of them are clumsy and just poorly designed to where it just really, even the, Champagne is our star, Champagne Urbana, stump them something. It just comes some of the things. So if you have time to do it, it just we'll get started. If you have time this afternoon, you and I can get together and get started on it.
Is there so if we don't do it this year, is it a year or 2 years or something?
Well, this what we call unspent PL funds is something that we're it's totally discretionary. There's nothing that's fixed, but looking at say a 4-year period at this time, what folks can rely on.
So I mean, if we said the time frame didn't fit this year, is there?
That'd be a good excuse to say we don't have staff, doesn't have whatever.
Is there an option to start?
Sure. I mean, there's nothing that I can see that's stopping you from doing that.
I just didn't know if it was like,
Yeah.
do it now or not for another 4 years or ever. Or...
Yeah, typically what we've asked is that you in May is when June, as far as the direct invoicing take place. But they would like to have documentation in February of your decision.
What are your thoughts?
I'd be open to, I don't, if we want to pursue the full amount, I don't mind going through the process of it. It'll be a little bit more challenging, given we're planning a lot more and we're in our planning process for fiscal year 2024. But if those are resources we don't want to leave on the table, I'm happy to do it.
Oh, he's certainly capable of it. It's just something to. The design is.
Do you need a recommendation from this group to the board?
Preferably.
What would this group like to do?
They go for the extra money that are available to this. It's not too much. Or if there's too much there, then I'm fine with the point though. What everybody else. Get it. Can we use those funds to do some of these things that we were referring to earlier?
Yep.
That'd be my 2 cents. We can get it.
Could be any less strings attached to them since they're unspent planning funds,
No.
or they be treated just like this planning funds all.
That's exactly what they are, is aftermath. This is, we don't bank, we don't have the banking.
Yeah.
So this is basically what's been banked over a number of years, and it's big money. It's pretty good size chunk of money.
Because the Illinois carryover policy is effectively 18 months.
Well, and that's somewhat, yes, that's
your
a
fiscal
reasonable
year with
but it's
an 18
it's actually an annual 12-month agreement giving 18 months of it, and was that's for projects that are completed, like an extension period.
I see. Okay, well, I'll take that recommendation to the board and I'll get started on this process. Tom, if we're, for whatever reasons, we don't end up satisfying any of the deadlines, we would still be eligible for the 20 this
Well,
year?
the deadlines aren't absolute targets and goals as far as that goes, but no different than I'm talking like, say you would have a draft UWP in March, right? And
Well, I have a draft now, but.
okay,
I don't
well,
have
and
all the projects
that's
together.
for some people, that's a challenge, because they don't like to do that until they're closer to a firm document. But this budget template is, and then plus some of the portal registration and that kind of thing is something that would be good to do soon.
Later today.
You know, it's-
Do you have the link to the portal registration?
It'd be in that document, but I mean, I don't have it.
Oh, in the document.
It'd be- Yeah, and it's perfect. Yourself, once you get the link, you'll be.
Okay. Well, then I'll get started. Recommendation of board.
Yeah. All right, we'll move. So back to Route 621 and Critical Road Traffic Study requests.
Yeah. Again, this was a call from Charlie. Mark, were you with Charlie when he called?
No, but he called me too.
Okay. So I don't know if we have any other discussion on it or. I think we'll explore it. We'll explore trying to include it in our work plan for the year.
Next up, proposal for extension of I-29 St. Joseph. I-55 and Cape.
So this is more just information only. I was contacted by an individual named Carl Armstrong. He had reached out to a number of folks from the county to our mayor, he even copied Holly Ritter on this proposal. And I just wanted to share with the TPC as well, because Mr. Armstrong intends to plan on attending our February 15th board meeting. So this is the packet of information he's essentially going to be presenting to them. It's a extension of I-29 from what is our Route 74 Shawnee Parkway all the way up north to St. Joseph, connecting to I-29. And he shows different alignments in his informational packet. He talks about benefits to the region. So I want this group aware of it as well. Here's it. I've read through it, but I don't really want to get into a lot of detail into it. I prefer to him. I'll let Carl kind of speak to his idea. Information only. Unless folks have questions on it.
No, the RPC is generally talked about since when Chauncey was there about specifically a connection from like Cape to Jeff City. Certainly, yeah, means that. So. Make it happen.
Great.
All right, any discussion on the I-29 extension? Right, then the member reports, City of Cape. Guess that would be Brian.
I don't know if Amy's on. I really don't have an update on the TTF projects. I know we're still in the acquisition phase on the Independence Street TTF project. You know, we're getting appraisals and negotiating with the property owners. I know one of the key areas of the project is right there in front of Arby's, and so we're talking to Arby's and Southeast Health because we're going to need some right of way from them. You know, so they're going to make sure we don't adversely affect them on their parking counts, both what the city requires, but also just what their needs are. And then also there's a freestanding sign that's in the way of the right of ways. So that would have to be relocated. So we're having, you know, lots of discussions like that, I think, with the property owners along that corridor. And I really don't have any updates on any of the other projects.
City of Jackson.
Yeah, Sunset Bridge replacement project. Proposal from Clear Engineering. That'll be taken to the Mayor and Board of Aldermen next Monday for approval for the design phase. The West Mary Street Bridge, which is still underway. I think construction's going well and on schedule for completion this in the spring. Deerwood Roundabout at North High Street, design ongoing by Lockmuir. East Main Street sidewalk. Megan Farmer Workman is a consultant. They're finishing up their engineering services contract for VODOT review and city approval. TEEP application. Let's see, that was the Main Street corridor pedestrian safety. study. Let's see that, engineering services contract is with MoDOT for review right now. Little Creek Recreation Trail Phase 3, which is from the high school to the soccer park. Looks like a SHPO study came back with no purple properties on the site. So the company completed an estimate. And continues their design work on that. And we're continuing working with MoDOT hand in hand on the utility replacements on Highway 61. That goes along with the bridge replacement project there between the courthouse and Route B. We have a team meeting scheduled with MoDOT and all the consulting engineers and city staff next Thursday. We were supposed to have it yesterday, but today actually, but due to the weather conditions, we pushed it back a week. So that's coming along. That's all I have.
We have anyone from Scott City, Cape County, Cape Special.
we're still involved with our Hopper Rose Bridge replacement project. Shut down too until probably springtime, one more days. Probably need about a month to finish the project. But we get some good dry weather. Other than that, it's routine maintenance.
Okay, transit.
We are getting 2 new vehicles at the end of this week, which we're really excited about because that's the first time in over a year that we've gotten new vehicles. And we're gearing up for grant writing season again and putting in applications. And other than that, it's pretty much business as usual.
Right. Kirk. Trina. That brings us to Seymour RPC. Working with transit providers to get their projects for the next tip cycle, get those put in, update the numbers, and that'll be ready for spring to this group in the next maybe a month or two. Hopefully. March, I guess. We're getting started with our project prioritization process, our TAC. That's going to be a months long process. We'll finalize it in July. We kicked off the discussion of it at the TAC meeting, our TAC meeting last week. So we'll be meeting with our counties and communities to get their project prioritization in. That's all for us. Scott, Studio. There's Scott. Muted if you are. Going once. Twice. Okay, Barry, magnet. I think we have anybody for that. MoDOT.
Well, this January letting, we didn't have much in the MPO areas, not much to talk about. This outside the MPO area, we did have a project on Mo 25 in Cape Girardeau County. It was a bridge scour repair in the diversion channel near Dutchtown. The parent locator on that was Strat Excavating for $114,000. Hope to have those awards sometime soon this month. Again, not a very busy month in the MPO area, so I was just going to go over the traditional cost share program, not the government cost share program. Deadlines for those are coming up. We just passed one this month, 27th, so the next round, if you're interested in any cost share projects that are on the state system, which is the difference between the governor's cost share and traditional, those applications will be due April 14th. If you're interested in anything or have any ideas or want to vet those with us, just get in contact with me and we can start working on that process. The total project cost for those have to exceed $200,000 in advance of 50/50 cost share applications.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah.
If municipality already has a cost share in progress, are we eligible for?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
So if you're interested in anything, just get with me. We can talk about it. I actually wanted to get with you after the meeting to talk about this last governor's question. I want to have some ideas. How to go about that next time.
Okay.
I did notice on FHWA's website, they have a webinar coming up February 8th. For any entities interested in putting in for discretionary grants, it seems to be a how-to for doing so. I mean, if you're interested in that, just go ahead and go to their website and sign up. Again, it's February 8th. And there is a discretionary grant that's out there from FHWA right now for raise. If you're interested in that, the deadline for that funding would be February 28th. Looking forward to the planning partner meeting the end of this month, which is February 23rd. I think Joe and Mike are still on.
Joe, you got anything? Put him on sleep. Mike, how about you?
I don't have much, just, I guess 2 words, project delay, well, 3 words, project delays and inflation. We're working on our step and, for various reasons, you know, contractor capacity or property acquisition, whatever, we're having to delay a lot of projects, not a lot, but some projects out of our FY23 year into FY24. And between the way the inflation's going and increase as we're updating our new step for projects that begin in FY24, as we up those prices to account for inflation, that we're really seeing it in asphalt a lot. We're seeing it everywhere, but like, you know, asphalt that used to be $60 a ton is 90 or $100 a ton. So with all the overlays we do, that just really impacts the program. And so as we're updating those estimates and as we're addressing how we just kind of handle inflation in the STIP in general, it's really kind of put us in a program where even with all the projects we just moved out 23 into 24, we are looking at having to move a significant number of jobs out of 24 into 25, and then we'll need to move some that are in 25 into 26, you know, kind of a ripple effect like that. There could be a little leapfrog and maybe something goes from 24 to 26, but that's really where we're at. We're kind of we're well over program right now with our programming goals, and that's just on our existing jobs. That's not really adding anything new, any major new stuff, you know. So that's what we're working on right now. You know, dealing with project delays, probably like a lot of everybody else, and dealing with inflation. So, but that's about all I got right now.
Thanks. Ida.
Nothing else to report.
So we had anyone from FHWA, FTA. So, brings us to step.
On February 23rd, I'll be attending the MoDOT Statewide Planning Partners Conference over in Jefferson City. Our public transit, human services, transportation coordination plan, still making progress. They've acquired all of the data that they need for the plan, and they're currently in draft mode. Other than that, our official award gets announced today for the Safe Streets and Roads for All program. So you can check that out on the USDOT website.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, be a good project. That's all I got.
Any other business? All right. Next board meeting is February 15th. Next TPC meeting is March 1st. I think March 1st. It's February 1st, March 1st. And if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion and second. Oh.